Hi, my name is Doug. Welcome to Psalms of Love podcast.
Love conquers all.
I want to share with you today real quickly about the feeling of being inadequate. There are a lot of us that at different times in our lives we feel inadequate to even be considered a possibility to minister the gospel for Jesus. We don't feel like we are educated enough. We don't feel like we look good enough. We are either too young, or we're either too old, or we're either too thin or too fat. We're always going by an outward appearance. And I want to relay this to this situation. When Jesus was here on earth, he chose 12 men. Let me rephrase that. He actually chose 12 misfits. They were considered misfits in their time frame that they were here. The Pharisees had to be a certain person. They had to have a certain status quo. They had to have a certain education in the scriptures, the Torah. And the disciples, none of the disciples were that way. They were men that had lived rough lives, most of them. Some of them were not as honest as they should have been, and some of them were very looked down at, like Matthew example, the tax collector. He was looked very much down at by his own people. And so these were men that were not considered on the outside to be adequate enough to be a disciple for a rabbi, especially for Jesus, the Son of God. However, God looks at man differently. He looks on the inside of man. He doesn't look at the way we look, our personality. Do we have the right education? Are we able to speak with the perfect vocabulary? Remember Moses? Moses had a speaking problem, and he even told God, I am not adequate to do this, and God permitted him to take Aaron to speak for him to Pharaoh. God would speak to Moses, Moses would share it to Aaron, and then Aaron would share it to Pharaoh. But God chose Moses for that task that he wanted to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. God looked at the hearts of 12 men and chose each one of them. They were misfits. Now, unfortunately, one of them did lose his way and go in the wrong direction and betrayed the Son of God. However, these 12 men Jesus chose, not based on the outer appearance, not based on their education, not based on their economic status quo, and not even based on their personality, but based on their heart. So consider yourself a choice by God, no matter whether you feel inadequate or not. You are personally chosen by God for the task, the giftings that He has given you to share on this earth. We are here for Him, and we are getting ready to go into a time frame of a harvest that we are all hearing in our spirits, that this is going to be a big, big harvest. And Jesus has a place for each one of us. And it's not based on how much education we have. It's not based on how we look, how pretty or how handsome we are. It's not based on how much energy we have, what our personality, how energetic in our personality we are. It doesn't matter on any of these outward appearances. It doesn't matter on our status, economically or any arena. We have been chosen because Jesus has looked at the heart, not what's on the outside. It's sad for those who think that because of what they look like on the outside, because of how eloquently they can speak and how much education they have, that's what God is looking at. Those things can help. They don't hinder, but they can help to be utilized for the gospel of Jesus. But remember 12 disciples. They did not have the education the Pharisees did of learning the Torah and the scriptures. They did not have the status quo. They did not have the respect that a lot of them, and a lot of them were common workers that were considered lowly. Peter was a fisherman. That's all he had done all his life. He knew how to go out and catch fish, and in that time frame, even though it was a needed occupation to have, it was not a respected occupation. So Jesus chose Peter not based on what he could do or based on what he knew, how educated he was, or how good looking he was, or his economical status. Jesus chose Peter as well as the other disciples based on his heart, as Jesus chooses all of us. He chooses us based on our heart and how much we love him and are willing to go every step of the way for him. In the previous podcast, I spoke about being all in or all out. Jesus looks for the ones who are willing to be all in, no matter the cost. So if you ever feel at any point in time inadequate to be a minister for Jesus, to share the gospel, to love on people, to direct them to the one true way to the Father in heaven, don't feel by yourself, because you are in great company, because that is who God uses. The Bible says God chooses the foolish things to confound the wise. Well, then we're foolish. We're foolish for God. I hope this has encouraged you. And anytime you are in the Florida area, go to our website, psalmsoflove.com. Go to our website under events and click on map, and it'll show you where we are. We hold a Saturday evening service every Saturday at 7 p.m. And if you're ever in the area, we would really love to have you. But thank you so much for joining us. May God bless you. Shalom.
Love conquers.